What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Chuds BBQ. My name is Bradley Robinson, and today I'm going to show you how I made this beautiful, delicious, smoky, brined, juicy pork pastrami. Coming up. A few months back, Evan Leroy and I made our way out to Los Angeles, where as well as doing a burger pop-up at Slab Barbecue, we ate an ungodly amount of food. And if you haven't seen that video, be sure to check it out. But along our travels, one of the places we ate was at Smorgasburg, which is an amazing food market with pop-ups from all over the city with pretty much any type of food you can imagine. One of the spots there is run by Rebecca King, aka the Bad Jew. And as her name may suggest, she does Jewish-style deli meats, but instead of using the traditional beef, she uses pork. And she's most known for her pork pastrami. And I don't know about you, but just the name pork pastrami sounds absolutely fantastic. So, that being said, today I'm going to take a stab at making some pork pastrami, and it is going to be delicious. This is a pork brisket. Not much of a fat cap on this one. Got some silver skin on the back, a little bit of fat back here. That is all good. And I think that'll be just fine for pork pastrami. But just like a regular brisket, we've got the point muscle right here and the flat muscle running underneath it. And I've cooked this cut once before where I cooked it just like a traditional brisket, and it was really good. Very fun cut to play around with, nice tender meat. And it's the exact same part of the pig that a brisket is on a cow, kind of in that picnic ham region. And I know what you're thinking. I've never seen a pork brisket at my supermarket, which is true. I've never really seen these anywhere other than Porter Road. Who's sponsoring this video? Porter Road is an online butcher shop based out of Nashville, Tennessee that specializes in high-end, humanely raised pork, beef, chicken, and charcuterie. I'm a big fan of Porter Road. They've been supporting this channel for a very long time, and everything I've had from them has been absolutely fantastic. And they've got all the cuts you're used to, like ribeye steaks, New York strips, whole chickens, chicken wings, all sorts of stuff like that. But they also have all the fun stuff, like pork briskets, pig wings, Denver steaks, hanger steaks, you name it, they've got it. Because everything they have is hand butchered and comes out looking amazing. That's one thing I really love about Porter Road, is everything I get from them is perfectly trimmed up. The roasts are all trussed by hand. The vac sealing is very high quality, and the flavor is just outstanding. Their pork in particular is way better than any pork I can get here at any local grocery store. And all their beef is whole carcass dry aged, meaning it's super tender and has lots of wonderful flavor to it. They also have a whole line of charcuterie and pre-made sausages, which are incredibly tasty. With 4th of July coming up, I highly recommend getting some of their hot dogs. Very good stuff. And I know ordering meat online may seem odd when you can easily just go to your local grocery store, but it really is something that I highly recommend. You can go on their website and pick and choose the exact specific cuts you're looking for, instead of just hoping for the best whenever you go to the local supermarket. And having fresh meat delivered right to your door is super convenient for your next barbecue party, or if you just want to load up the fridge or the freezer, and you really owe it to yourself to try some high quality meat. So that being said, if you want to give Porter Road a try, click the link in the description of this video taking you to porterroad.com, where using my link you can get 15% off your order. Again, link in the description, porterroad.com, 15% off your order. Thank you, Porter Road. So looking at this pork brisket, I'm gonna trim it up just a little bit more. We got this little flapper doodle hanging on here. Zip that off. Maybe take this down a little bit. If yours has a big old fat cap, you could take that down if you want. But this is looking pretty good to me. I might round off these corners a little bit, just because we are gonna be smoking this thing after all. Kind of give it a trim like a normal little brisket. Don't want any corners. You want it to be nice and aerodynamic. But really, not much to do on this thing. And that is looking pretty good to me. So let's get our brine together. We're going with my typical pastrami brine today, which starts out by toasting some spices, including some coriander, some mustard seeds, some allspice berries, 1 star anise, couple of cloves, some juniper berries, some red chili flakes, and some black peppercorns. And we're just gonna let these toast until they are nice and fragrant. Just wanna keep them moving until those oils are released and we start to hear some popping and cracking. Beautiful. Into a pot they go, along with 2 quarts of water. Then we can go in with the rest of our ingredients, including some salt, some brown sugar, a couple of bay leaves, our pink curing salt, and a cinnamon stick, which I probably should have toasted as well. Back up to a simmer this goes until everything is nicely dissolved and combined. Once up to a nice steamy simmer, everything is nicely dissolved and it is smelling absolutely wonderful. So in we go into our vessel of choice. Then we're gonna add the remainder of our water in ice water form. This is a 1 gallon batch total. And this ice water is just gonna help cool everything down. Just give that a nice little stir, wait for this ice to melt a little bit. That way it is not too hot when we put the meat in here. Next up, I'm gonna take some of this brine and I'm gonna pour it through this mesh sieve into another container here. That way we don't get any berries or seeds clogging up the injector. And simply enough, using this handy dandy little injector here, we're just gonna go through and fill this thing up. And it's probably not necessary to inject a piece of meat this size, but because I only plan on brining this overnight, maybe 24 hours, I figure, hey, might as well. Can't hurt. Nothing to it, folks. Trying to fill it up as evenly as possible. Oh God, pastrami brine in the eye. Love it. And the pork brisket seems like the obvious choice because traditional pastrami is made from brisket or navel, but I'm sure this would work really well with some pork shoulders or a pork belly. Ooh, might have to give that a try. And I think that ought to do. Just a few syringes full into this thing. It's already looking heavier, nice and plump. So into the brine it goes. Top it off. Into the fridge this goes, covered up until tomorrow. 24 hours later, this pork pastrami is coming out of its brine. Ooh, looking good. Lovely. And again, I assume 24 hours is plenty of time to get that brine to penetrate all the way through, especially with that injection, but we'll find out. And yeah, you can totally reuse this brine if you want. I'll probably throw a tri-tip or something in there. I'm gonna give this thing a quick little rinse to make sure there's no extra berries or any undissolved salt or anything on there. Probably unnecessary step, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Pat it dry. And there we have it, folks. A beautiful looking pastrami brined pork brisket. Let's make a rub. For our pastrami rub today, we are going in with some 16 mesh black pepper, 1 part, some ground up toasted coriander, 1 part as well. Then we're gonna go in with 1/2 part granulated garlic and 1/2 part granulated mustard. And I think that's gonna be a-okay for this pork brisket. And you can pretty much do whatever you want. A good coriander pepper rub is really all you need, but you could go in there with any of the spices we included in that brine. You know, if you wanted some extra floral flavor on there, you could put some ground clove or nutmeg or allspice, whatever you wanna do. But this is looking pretty good to me. And you could go on with a slather at this point. You know, mustard and pastrami are best friends after all. But this thing just came out of a brine, so I think that's all the slather we're gonna need. And simply enough, we're just gonna get a nice even coating all over this thing. Oh, that smells lovely. Gotta love coriander, folks. Other side, you know the drill. All sides, folks, especially the edges. Come on. And again, this thing didn't have much of a fat cap on it, and the point muscle is pretty thick on both sides, but this side had a little bit more fat on it, so that's the side I'm gonna be calling fat side up. And again, you can go nice and heavy with this rub because there's no salt in it. All the salt is already infused in the meat from the brine, and that is looking pretty good to me. Let's throw it on the pit. As you can see, this pit is already fired up because I'm cooking a brisket today, but have no fear, there is still a snake in my boot. So on the pit we go. A brisket next to a brisket. How fitting. So cute. We're gonna rock this between 275 and 300 until it comes up to temp and starts looking nice and barky. I don't plan on having a water pan or doing any spritzes or anything like that. We're just gonna smoke this thing. So we'll check back in. All right, folks, it's been several hours now. To be honest, I did not keep great track of time, so I'm not sure how long this thing has been on, but this adorable, oh, that's really hot. This adorable little pork brisket pastrami is coming off the pit. It's rocking an internal temperature of about 170, which is a little earlier than I'd normally wrap, and that's because this is pastrami after all, and pastrami in New York City is traditionally steamed. So I figured today I'm gonna go with a full foil wrap. That way we get some steam collected inside of this wrap, soften up some of this bark a little bit, and we should end up with a wonderful pork pastrami. So I'm gonna hit this with some pork fat just because I'm feeling frisky tonight. Why not? And then I'm gonna wrap it up. Beautiful. On the pit we go till this thing comes up to an internal temperature of around 200 degrees. And just like that, 1 hour later, the Texas crutch lives up to its name because this pork pastrami has reached an internal temp of about 205 degrees, feeling nice and tender. I'm gonna let this cool down for a little bit and then we'll slice on in. All right, let's slice into this little nugget of joy, shall we? Oops, don't mind if I do. Gotta say, bark looks nice. It's a little tiny little pork brisket. Let's slice it right in half to begin with, shall we? Boom, big reveal. Look at that, nice and red all the way through. Very nice brine penetration on there. Looks like we got a little bit more on this point than we did on the flat, but it's just like a brisket. This is your fatty slice, this is your lean slice, and that looks pretty good to me, gotta say. Let's get a couple slices, shall we? That's not a bad looking pile of meat. Little pork pastrami. Yes, please. I mean, would you just look at it, folks? Beautiful bark, tender meat, nice fat render, wonderful flavors all the way throughout. That looks like it's gonna make a damn good sandwich. I tell you what. I tell you what. Oh, wow, that is very flavorful. It doesn't have the same grain structure that beef does, obviously, but the flavor is there. That's unique. That's really good. Right off the bat, I think it's a little too salty, so I may cut back on the salt in the brine if I'm doing pork pastrami. And beef, it works. It's the same brine I use for all my other pastramis, but for this one, a little little heavy. It's not overbearing by any means, but definitely a note. Quite tasty. The fatty side of the brisket. Brine penetration all the way through. Gotta love that. Oh, that fatty side is way better. More flavor, more fat. I must say, this was a fun experiment. I've never made pork pastrami before, and it's really good. Again, you could do this with a pork steak or a ham. Actually, a ham pastrami sounds like a really great idea for a video. Coming this holiday season. But yeah, this is amazing. Really great. Much easier to cook than a full brisket or something like that. Floral, sweet. It's got that nice cured flavor. So we might as well hit this with a little bit of spicy brown mustard. Am I right, folks? Oh yeah, that makes it so good. Honestly, if you put this on a piece of rye bread with some spicy mustard, I probably wouldn't even notice the difference. It's like a more spiced ham. There's nothing wrong with that. But without further ado, folks, I think it's time for the official taste test. Alright y'all, and that is how to make an absolutely amazing pork pastrami. I love making videos like this where it's a little more experimental as opposed to cooking the same thing over and over, and this recipe definitely has some great potential. Pork is a lot cheaper than beef, and this is a great way to make some super tasty sandwiches, no matter what cut you use. With that being said, if you enjoyed this video, let me know by hitting that subscribe button. Let YouTube know by dropping a like on this video. If you give this recipe a try for yourself, be sure to tag me on Instagram at Chuds BBQ. I'd love to see what y'all are cooking. Big shout out to all the Patreon members. Thank you for supporting Team Chud and allowing me to keep making all these videos, and until the next time I see you, please go cook something outside. Peace!